Hello everybody, I am Crystal Clear 101. Welcome back to my channel. We have another Star Wars toy review. And today we're looking at the Star Wars Black Series 6-inch Captain Phasma. Now this figure was released in late 2015. She is a general release and her suggested retail is $19.99. Now let's go ahead and look over the packaging. At the very top of the packaging we have the Star Wars the Black Series logo. And along the bottom of the packaging we have some stencil shaded artwork of Captain Phasma along the right hand side of the packaging, along with the name of the character in the bottom left hand corner. And along the reverse side of the packaging, at the very top of the packaging, we have the Star Wars The Black Series logo along the left, along with 06 Captain Phasma, which indicates that this is the 6th figure in the series. And along the middle of the packaging, we have the same stencil shaded artwork for the background. Also, along with a brief bio about Captain Phasma in 4 languages, the English portion reads, "Clad in distinctive metallic armor, Captain Phasma commands the First Order's legions of troopers." And that does it for Captain Phasma's packaging. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and open up this figure and see just how cool she really is. And now let's go ahead and get a better look at this figure. First off, go ahead and give a 360 degree of the figure itself. Now, there are some things about this figure I do like and some things that I don't like. Now, let me go ahead and get what I don't like about the figure out of the way. Now, if I am to give any complaints about this particular figure, this is the first one I do have. Now, if you notice, her cape does have red trim that goes along this edge of the cape. Now, while I don't mind that, it's just that on my example right here, it is not properly painted. Matter of fact, parts that are supposed to be red are not painted, and parts that are not supposed to be red have bled over. So, the simple fact that that was able to get through, that's one minor complaint I do have. And just like with the First Order Stormtrooper, I honestly don't care for the simple fact that the bend in the elbow is actually offset just a little bit. Because with it being set over here, instead of right over here, this actually prevents it from being able to fully fold in all the way, which prevents the character from being able to fully, properly hold her F11 properly. And my last and final issue I do have with the figure itself is that on my example, the articulation for the feet at the ankles was a little loose. And on top of that, to go with that, is the fact that this figure is a little top heavy. So, the slightest little bit push, and the figure will topple over without too much issue. So for me, that can be a little bit of an issue. And now, let's take a look at the positives about this figure. The first positive that I can give about this figure is that it is not just a straight up repack or just a straight up repaint of the First Order Stormtrooper. Matter of fact, just to give an idea, here is the First Order Stormtrooper. As you can see, Captain Phasma is obviously much larger. And to go with that, there are actual differences between the two armors, as you can see in the two helmets right here. Now, aside from the various lines that are along the top of Phasma's helmet, another noticeable difference is how there is also much less material right down here along the bottom of her helmet. Also, the chest piece on Phasma is also noticeably larger than it is on the standard Stormtrooper. It appears to be more beefed up. Another noticeable key difference here, number one, the crotch piece on Phasma is much larger. Number two, the very top of the leg armor is larger, along with the knee armor. Also, not only does the shin armor appear to be larger, it appears to be more heavily armored. In addition to that, there appears to be additional armor on her feet when compared to the First Order Stormtrooper. And another noticeable key difference, obviously, is the handheld weapon, in which Phasma's appears to be more of a tactical carbine. Not only that, the paint scheme also seems to be more reflective of the character itself. And if I had to say anything about her handheld weapon, which is, wow, this actually looks very sweet, it looks very slick, I would have liked to have seen additional paint apps on it. However, the one good thing I can say is that if this is an issue, it can be hand painted if need be. Another thing I actually really do like about this figure is the articulation. You can have the figure in a multiple of poses. And despite what I said earlier about the ankle articulation, this is actually able to hold some poses without too much of an issue. And as demonstrated right here, even though the figure itself can be top heavy, with proper placement of the legs, it actually can stand up without too much of an issue. In addition to that, the tape right here itself is actually kind of a rubberized kind of plastic. So even if the figure is to fall backwards, the tape itself will actually help support the figure. Another thing I figure I will go ahead and point out, which I thought was interesting, which is when you actually do lift up the tape itself, how there is additional details, additional little features on the figure itself, which I thought was just interesting. It's not much, but just the fact they actually still went ahead and added all of that, I thought was pretty neat. Weapons and accessories include an F11D carbine. And articulation for Captain Phasma consists of a ball-jointed head, ball-hinged shoulders, ball-hinged elbows, ball-hinged wrist, ball-jointed hips, double-hinged knees, and ball-hinged ankles. And overall, what are my thoughts on the Black Series Captain Phasma? If you don't mind the few shortcomings that this figure actually does have, then this is an excellent representation of the character from The Force Awakens. Now, is it worth the $19.99 that the figure retails for? It is. If you're a fan of Stormtrooper variants, then to me, this is an absolute must-have. The figure itself is actually nicely detailed. Is the fact that it is an original mold and not a straight-up repack or a straight-up redeco. It is an original mold. And overall, the figure itself is actually very nice and very eye-catching. So, if you're curious about this particular version of Captain Phasma, I highly recommend that you do go get this one if you can find this one. But that'll wrap up my review on the Star Wars Force Awakens Black Series Captain Phasma. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.